and Dr. Ana Castillo. Dr. Lionel Brosi, they will help today webinar called Artificial Intelligence in Social Sciences. Dr. Lionel Brosi is a professor and director of international affairs at the Institute of Communication and Image of the University of Chile. He's also a director of the Artificial Intelligence and Society Hub and a faculty associate at the Bergman Klein Center at Harvard University. He's working in close collaboration with the youth and media team and supporting ongoing effort of research and application of the field of artificial intelligence and inclusion, and the study of the intersection of youth and digital technologies. Dr. Ana Castillo is a professor, she's also a professor at the Institute of Communication and Image of the University of Chile. She's also director of the Artificial Intelligence and Society Hub, and she's working on several research and application projects in the fields of artificial intelligence and education, youth and digital technologies, and the future of work. She actively participates in consultancies and research with regional and international organizations on the intersection of youth, digital technologies, and human rights. Both Professor Brosi and Professor Castillo will give a lecture, and at the end they will Q&A any question you have. The webinar will last 50 minutes, so I will be in charge of the chat. My name is Osvaldo, so let me introduce and pass the word to Professor Lionel and Professor Castillo. Thank you.
Thank you, Osvaldo. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for having us. We're delighted to be sharing with you some of our research and points addressing the main theme. I'll be sharing my screen now, so I give you Lionel.
Okay, so Anna, are you going to share the presentation? Okay, thank you all for having us and for participating. As Osvaldo rightly mentioned, we are directing right now a research hub that is called Artificial Intelligence and Society, in which we do a lot of research and application on how artificial intelligence is impacting different areas in our lives. So what we are going to show you now is, firstly, maybe Anna, you can tell the first topics that we are going to approach, and then we start right away.
Well, this is the main topic. We're talking about artificial intelligence and social science from the approach that Lionel just mentioned, but we wanted to address what is this webinar about in a few words. First of all, we're going to share with you a general understanding of where we stand and where we put ourselves, but in relation to two main topics within the social sciences. There are artificial intelligence and communication, artificial intelligence and ethics. And in the second part of the webinar, we're expecting to share with you a methodological perspective on artificial intelligence and youth, and some research insights on AI and youth as well, from all of the ongoing projects for the hub, of the Artificial Intelligence and Society Hub. So maybe we could start right away by defining how or what we understand by artificial intelligence.
There we are. So the concept of artificial intelligence, maybe many of you are engineers or studying engineering, and has a lot of, and you know that artificial intelligence has a lot of different approaches. But here, for the purpose of this webinar, that it's intended to the general public, we are positioning artificial intelligence as a kind of intelligence, and I said it into quotes, demonstrated by machines in contrast to the natural or human intelligence, shown not only by humans, but also by animals. So AI, as currently we know it, includes tasks such as planning, understanding language, recognizing objects and sounds, and learning through experience. So we could say that artificial intelligence in general terms can be divided into two different aspects. One is the general AI that actually doesn't exist yet, because the general AI is when AI supposedly will get the same intelligence or capabilities than human intelligence or superior. This is a big debate, and maybe we can talk later a little bit about it. But we actually are now in narrow artificial intelligence, because it's the artificial intelligence that dedicates to specific tasks. Maybe it could be an algorithm that has a specific function, but it could have also a lot of different functions. But for sure, we are not at the point in history or technological history where artificial intelligence achieve the same intelligence than humans.
We actually noted some points from Joe Jones, that he's the creator of the Roomba robot that some of us know, that's the cleaning robot. And he says that we don't have to fear the robot, because the process of creating a new technology is slow, and it's very demanding, because robot success is opportunistic. Not every application has a viable robotic solution. The state of the art means only select application offer a large market, existing technology that supports autonomy. So a robotic approach that outcompletes the other solutions. It's not just create a solution or a robotic solution for every problem or every application. So this narrow artificial intelligence is in everything we know, but the development of something bigger or something more related to general artificial intelligence is very difficult right now. So we could understand that singularity or the idea of a general artificial intelligence is not near in the future.
Yes, maybe to that, for me, it's a really interesting debate, because it involves a philosophical debate, an ethical debate, and actually to get to the singularity, which is this point where artificial intelligence gets the same or a superior intelligence of humans or animals, means that there are proper elements to human beings, for instance, common sense, embodiment, I mean, being a body, or having a multisensory body. Other things like perception and understanding of the context requires a lot of technical development, ethical, and as I said, also social and philosophical. So we are a bit far, I would say, to achieve general artificial intelligence, but there are some ongoing discussions actually at the MIT, and you can read it in a book called Singularity, actually. It's a pocket book that says that maybe it will be achieved not in a exactly same way that we think of the intelligence of humans, but maybe creating digital environments and digital bodies with digital thinking. So it's something like a second life, this immersive game that we used to know at the beginning of the 2000s, but in a much more developed way. Let's go to the new one.
I just wanted to add that, and that's what you're saying is very relevant for the social sciences, because it puts relevance in the context, and that's where we are currently focusing our research, or the importance on the importance of the context for the development of new technologies and how they apply to our daily lives. So that's how or what we are thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, here there is a cover of a newspaper, because there is to be, it was at mid-century, a radio theater play that cheat a whole nation in terms of, it was so realistic that the people who were hearing the radio program thought that the extraterrestrial were invading Earth. It was a theater play about the War of Worlds. And for those who study communication, it's very common to study the different models of communications. And I will say that one of the first models, even if it was not scientific, was the one called the hypodermic needle, or the magic bullet. This model stated that news or messages go straight to audiences, to massive audiences, and the audiences react passively, like right away, according to what the message says. So after this model, there were a lot of scientific studies of models of communication that says, hey, humans are not so passive, we have critical capacities. So we don't react right away from what social media says, for instance, or from what we read on social media. Well, now it's social media, but in that times were like traditional newspapers, for instance, or radio. But if we think of social media, now there is a big discourse on misinformation, which is a total reality, because we have this concept called filter bubble, which it was coined by Eli Pariser, that says that the algorithms are shaping what kind of information you are receiving. For instance, in social networks, for instance, in search platforms such as Google search. And this has a lot of implication for freedom of expression, for plurality of content. But there is also this thought that states that people are reacting passively again to what the algorithms want us to read. So there is a big debate, because it's like going back to the hypodermic needle theory, but I think it's a bit more complex. Of course, algorithms, those algorithms, for instance, that are behind the social networks, that personalize content for us according to what we read, what we like, what we share, actually according to our full digital footprint. Of course, it shapes our worldview, our behavior in some aspects, but we have to take in mind that it's always multidimensional. It's not just that algorithms are shaping us like if we were totally puppets, but it's important to understand critically the way they work, just to have more freedom of decision.
I wanted to add in that sense that Pariser also mentions, and I find it very interesting, that he mentions the responsibility of platforms and companies in that shaping of our world, because companies and algorithms make decisions based not just on what we share or what we are paying attention to, but also from where we are. So algorithm and platforms are shaping our world, defining us, or because of these characteristics that we are not always aware of, or we are not always thinking about. So I find it interesting because it's not just responsibility of the user that is sharing some information about themselves, but also from the companies that shape specific content or specific interest due to our or where we are in the world, not just about what we are willingly sharing. So I find it very interesting because it allows us to think about how the algorithm are designed, implemented, and can be evaluated. And that's also important for the second part of our talk.
Yes, in this, regarding this, we have to think that algorithmic agents that actually we can, for instance, for those who are not into cybernetics or computer, when we talk about algorithmic or algorithms, we think about a series of instructions that leads to a certain outcome. But when we connect algorithms with artificial intelligence, it's because they can predict, they can take more complex conclusions. And I think it's important to understand that this kind of dynamics or this, yes, the behavior of the algorithms are introducing new dynamics that force us to rethink the existing models of communication. Considering, for example, that an algorithm is capable of receiving, emitting, analyzing, predicting also, and creating and generating information. If we read if we explore the models of communication from the Second World War to today, in generally thought as machine human, but in a way of how the message is produced and received by audiences, and also human. But now we have this new entity, which is a algorithm or artificial intelligence agent that has all these capacities, and we need to rethink maybe a new model of communication to better understand what are the dynamics in which artificial intelligence is embedded not only in communication, but in all aspects of our lives.
And also how transparent or opaque they are, because some of these algorithms are not visible to most people, for the public in general, and maybe they are thinking that their searches or the content they are looking for, it's all they're doing, or the findings they have in news or any content they are looking for. They think that the content they are getting is all the content there is, and they are not considering the part that algorithms play. So that's an important aspect in also how we interact with social networks and other means of communication, but also how we are thinking about media literacy, digital skills, and all those concepts that are not only for adults, just for adults, but for children and youth also. So it's important to think about them as a way to understand the world. So it's important how we are learning that these algorithms work.
Great. Maybe we go to the next slide. Time is running really fast, and we have a lot of things to talk about. One of the main things of this presentation is regarding to ethics, right? Because artificial intelligence has the potential, and it's deeply nowadays impacting our lives and transforming our futures in so many different ways. So in this regard, ethics must be transversal, and it has to be always at the center of any design, deployment, implementation, and use of AI technologies. And this is something that we are really interested into the research hub of AI and society at the University of Chile, is that the uneven access to an impact of AI-based technologies on marginalized populations run the risk of amplifying global digital inequalities. It's been a long time that we are talking about the digital gap and digital inequalities, and sometimes it's thought that artificial intelligence, we don't reach yet to talk about this, but if you think that most of the digital platforms, especially social networks and search engines that are the ones who young people are using, are based in artificial intelligence technologies, that means that, of course, we can talk about the digital divide on AI. So when we talk about marginalized populations, these groups may include urban, rural, poor communities, women, youth, for instance, LGBTIQ+ individuals or communities, racial groups, physically challenged people, and particularly those people who are in the intersection of these identities. So there is a team that we are going to talk about in a few slides called Youth and Media that was one of the pioneers working on artificial intelligence and inclusion. And actually, we learned a lot from them all of the time, but maybe we can share later on some recourses. So a complex set of issues exists at the intersection of artificial intelligence development and the application divide between what it's been said, the global north and the global south. Some of the thematic areas that for us, for instance, are really cross-cutting are health, education, well-being, humanitarian crisis, mitigation, as well as things like data infrastructure, law, governance, and algorithms and design. So there are a lot of topics that involved and need the view, the exploration, the study from the social science and humanities, just to ensure that AI design, development, and implementation and use is actually ethic. Okay, let's go to the next one.
These are some of the examples or some of the areas that we are referring to in regard to AI and ethics. We work on AI in education through the construct of a database of what we are saying about data education or education for data. So, as we said, all the fields in which AI is embedded and all kinds of AI development and implementation need a human-centered and ethical approach. Sometimes technologies move faster than our possibilities or approaching or our capability of approaching them critically. But we have to recognize that potential impacts and regulation on its design, implementation, and use is very, very important. Many countries in the world are working on ethical frameworks for their national AI politics, being Chile one of them. And there are also regional and global frameworks that we are working on as well with.
Okay,
we can see some examples.
Maybe the next slide, if you can, Anna.
Yes.
Okay, cool. So this was actually a conference in Beijing that I had the privilege to assist. It was a conference where it was written and designed the consensus of artificial intelligence and education. So this conference and the consensus was originated by UNESCO and the government of the Republic of China. And it's the first ever document to offer some guidelines on how best to harness the potential of artificial intelligence technologies for achieving the objectives set out in the Education 2030 agenda. So the consensus was adapted during the International Conference of Artificial Intelligence and Education, which was held, as I said, in Beijing, and it included the participation of, I think it was like 500 representatives from more than 100 countries and 10 international organizations, among them UNESCO, UNICEF, ITU, etc. So we wanted to share this because this consensus explores how to promote AI in education, but from an ethical and human-centered standpoint. The consensus is quite long, but it includes planning in education policies. It includes education management and delivery, teaching and teacher empowerment also, because sometimes these technologies are difficult to access or difficult to be literate on how to use them. So there is learning assessment, development of values and skills for lives. And this is a topic that is very important. And I will say that it's one of the biggest benefits of artificial intelligence in education, because it will allow, if we prepare a really ethical framework or regulation, to be able to access education for life. This is, in here, it's very important to work in a multi-stakeholder level, not only universities, but also with the private sector, with NGO, and with international organizations. So the purpose is promoting equitable and inclusive use of AI in education, involving gender equality, which is also very important and transversal to all the science of artificial intelligence, and ethical use of data in education, because we are dealing here in some cases with data from children as well. So because artificial intelligence in education to work well, it needs to monitor, to evaluate, to research on behavior. So what we are doing with this data is very important in terms of privacy, security, and well-being of the students, even if they are adults. So one of the main challenges for all the states is to develop and implement policies to promote the implementation or the integration of artificial intelligence in education. And here we have a huge gap, because generally artificial intelligence is more developed in countries from the global north, and also, of course, in China. But for instance, in Latin America, we still have a long way to go. But it has one advantage, because these technologies are not totally implemented in Latin America. We still have the time to think about it critically, to think about what are the possible impacts that these technologies may have in our society. That's why here in the so-called global south, it's very important, this space, this time that we have to really think about on ethical and social concerns.
Maybe I can share with you some highlights of the consensus. They are that the consensus affirmed that AI platforms and database learning analytics should be adopted as key technologies in building integrated lifelong learning systems to enable personalized learning anytime, anywhere, and potentially for anyone. It reinforces the need to ensure that AI promotes high-quality education and learning opportunities for all, irrespective of gender, disability, or social or economic status, ethnic or cultural background, or geographic location. And it also calls on efforts to support forward-looking reviews of frontier issues related to the implications of emerging AI development, and facilitates the exploration of effective strategies and practices for using AI to innovate in education, with a view to building an international community with common views on artificial intelligence and education.
What we are going to show you now is a center that we actually work with from the beginning when we created actually the Research Hub on Artificial Intelligence and Society. Let's see, Anna, if we can move to the new slide. And this center is called, the project is called Youth and Media. It belongs to the Berkman Klein Center for Internet and Society at Harvard University. And we work really in close collaboration with them. It's a team led by our colleague and friend, Sandra Cortesi, that she has also participated lastly in many talks here in Chile, and of course internationally. But what is interesting about this center is that they approach all possible different areas of the digital life of youth. So they work on the intersection of youth and digital technologies. And as I just said, when we talk about digital technologies, today it's really difficult to think about digital technologies that don't use at all artificial intelligence, especially if we think about the daily practices of youth with technologies, which involves social networks and gaming, for instance. So this team is one of the global reference on the study of this intersection of youth and technologies. They have done a lot of research and application in different areas, such as you can see here in the presentation, digital literacy, access, civic participation, youth well-being. So we encourage to explore their platform because all of the topics that they work are interbeing with artificial intelligence, even though, as you can see, there is a specific area of artificial intelligence where you can dwell and explore more topics. So one of the articles that I really recommend, because one of the focus of our research here in the Research Hub is youth, actually, and how youth relate with artificial intelligence. So there is this article, which is open access, and it's called Youth and Artificial Intelligence, Where We Stand. It's made by Alexa Hasse, Sandra Cortesi, Andres Lombana. All of them are working together with us in different projects, or we are working with them as well. So I really highly recommend to explore this.
One of the most important things that I find very, very useful is that in the field of artificial intelligence and society and social sciences, so society in general, is that we are challenged by the task of defining our ground or where we stand, and the Youth and Media project of the Berkman Klein Center really makes it easier in that way, because they have specific, well, the website and the general projects are always like orbiting these definitions, and they are all published public in the web. So it's nice for me to share it with you, because it gives us a common ground to start talking and discussing the topics.
There was one question in the chat that was what the lines in the squares refer to. Is just the design. Every square has colors and lines. It's just a design for, it's a print screen from the website of Youth and Media. So it doesn't have a special meaning. It's only aesthetics. Thank you for the question.
Well, we're moving forward to some more practical practical experiences, but it's nice here to see this map of inclusion of children's issues in national AI strategies. It's from UNESCO. The link is here, we can share it. Maybe you have it, Leo, in our notes. But the most important thing is that they are referred to 4 main issues, and they evaluate over 20 national strategies, and they came to the conclusion that a very few of these strategies really mention in detail what AI means for children and their rights. So you can interact with this visual in the link, but the most important thing is that there are some countries that are working on addressing children's issues in the national strategies, like Colombia, and also Chile has as well some young people participating on the national strategies writing. So you can interact with this, and we are sharing the link right away.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Maybe, the presentation moved away.
Here,
Okay.
because here you have the, there's the review, but somewhere here is the interactive visualization, so you can.
Maybe we can share the link in the chat.
Yes.
In the next minutes. No problem.
Okay.
Okay.
And also, here's one of the activities. I don't want to run out of time, but as Leonardo was mentioning earlier, there are some work from the international organizations to provide policy guidance for on AI for children or regarding children's rights. And this is a workshop that took place on Sao Paulo last year for UNICEF, Latin American, and the Caribbean. It was hosted by CETIC in Brazil, and we worked on a methodological approach that was participative, and we wanted to share it with you because it wasn't big as the Beijing Consensus on Artificial Intelligence and Education, but it allowed social organizations, government representatives, and international organization representatives to work together to think about barriers and possible solutions about AI, and specifically for the rights of children. So it gives us the next slide, that is the policy guidance on AI for children. That was the first draft launched on last September this year.
Yes, thank you, Anna. So I think this is really important because if the first policy guidelines made by UNICEF and multiple stakeholders, that's the objective is that government, corporations, and UN agencies are developing processes that seeks to consult children and young people to inform and refine the guidelines. So it's not an adultocentric perspective, but actually all the children were consulted, and we did a lot of activities. Actually, here in Chile, we implemented one of these activities, which was a workshop online to actually, the methodology is called deep listening. And it's not about going with previous ideas made by adults, but actually listening young people to understand what they think about artificial intelligence, what do they think they are their concerns, the opportunities that artificial intelligence can give to their lives. And we were actually, it was quite impressive, the amount of interest that these workshops showed. And we already can also share the report because we did the 4 sessions with, I think, more than 153 children. And I will say that the objective was first to understand how children and young people already interact with artificial intelligence in their lives, to understand the risks and opportunities associated with AI, but also their rights and well-being. And this is why it's important to approach, to have a critical approach of AI from an ethical standpoint, and also to explore their views and actions that need to be taken in order to maximize the benefits and limit the risks of AI systems in children. So maybe in the next slide, I think we have this is the cover of the report that we led with Ana Maria and together with UNICEF Chile, also the Ministry of Science. The Ministry of Science has a team called Equipo Futuro that helped us also to implement this workshop, and a national program called Explora. This workshop has the participation of children from all around Chile, from north to south, and the interesting things, because we did it here as this same way through Zoom, but we also activate breakout rooms so we can work in groups with them, talking about different topics. So we could reach a lot of, I would say, a big range of themes and topics that will actually serve these guidelines or contribute to these guidelines that it will be published soon, the final version.
What I found most interesting is that we worked through case studies. So in all groups, we could find ourselves in front of very real cases or cases that youth could relate to. So it was very interesting, the discussion that took part in these groups.
Okay, we have really a few minutes, actually, sorry, because, and a lot of slides. This always happens because we want to tell a lot of stories, but timing is always a bit complex. One of the things that it was interesting that most of the children, they actually knew that artificial intelligence has a lot of capabilities and they can use it in a lot of different areas of their lives. And for instance, all of them, they say that it helps us to do many tasks faster and easier. Actually, most of them, they found the main benefit of artificial intelligence is to make life easier. And it can help to solve big problems like climate change. It can help government to deliver better services and all of this, which means this and more kind of tasks.
I wanted to address the very interesting question of Joao in the chat. He was asking, what do you think about AI shaping children's preferences? And it's something we don't address here in the presentation, but I wanted to highly recommend the article from Pedro Hartung for UNICEF, because he addresses this topic in his paper, talking about the relevance of making AI and algorithms mostly available for the understanding of children and their families, because it has an impact. It has an impact on how we shape our world, and also on what we think about the future, our possibilities and our opportunities, meaning that maybe something is not being shown to us because we are just thinking about the possibilities and that the algorithms send to us. So it's very, very important what you are asking, and we insist on you reading the article of Pedro.
Thank you. Maybe we pass to the next slide.
Yes.
And also there are some questions, but maybe we maybe we finish the presentation, and then if we have some minutes, we can answer a few questions. One of the main questions that, or the topics that was most interesting for children was that if AI has conscious. And that was quite fantastic because for most of them, AI doesn't have consciousness. And we said, you're right, it doesn't have consciousness. But some of them, the ones who said, I think artificial intelligence has consciousness. And we say, well, why? Because we haven't achieved that yet. And the children were saying, well, listen, if you adults are not able to define what human consciousness is, why are you saying that artificial intelligence doesn't have any conscious? So it was interesting because, of course, it involves a philosophical and ethical debate. And as you can see, children has a lot to say to adults, and we can learn a lot from them. So maybe, I'm sorry, but we move forward to the next slide so we can, yes, here is the article that I share on the chat.
Yes, we will move forward. We wanted to show you some of the main methodological approaches to deal with AI, specifically with children in this case. This is from Responsible Data for Children. It's a matrix that allows us to question the decision provenance mapping worksheet. And we have here all the parts of the development of an artificial intelligence and all the questions that we should ask these stages. So this methodology is relevant for us because we can ask all the every stage of the decision provenance from the initiation and how was the data investment designed and instigated to the use. How is the data ultimately put to use? So it's the kind of methodology that UNICEF is using, and we are also using in our research. These are some of the aspects that the methodology can not this methodology, but the same methodology about questions on the stages and the stakeholders that are provided by the article Machine Behavior published by Nature. It's from several authors, but the first one is E.R. Ranham. So you can find it online also. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we are talking about kinetics, democracy, and algorithm society, and also the last one was kinetic also. Yes.
Yes. And maybe before we move to this one, yes. Anna, sorry, just to give a short framework of what we just have shown on the presentation, maybe the prior slide, if you can move back again. The questions, for instance, in society, we can think of, for instance, in this case, the article talks about online dating. And we could ask questions, for instance, does the matching algorithm use facial features? Because it has implications for privacy and security. So does the matching algorithm amplify or reduce homophily? The home assistants, or they are also called conversational robots, we could ask, does the robot promote products to children? Because it has ethical implication. Does the algorithm affect collective behaviors? Or there was a case in the US that was very famous where little kids or children from kindergarten, they were talking to peers, to classmates, as they used to talk with home assistants without asking for without kindness, actually. Instead of saying, please, could you give me this information? They just say, give me this information, because it's the way these home assistants are trained to interact with. That has some kind of values that are missing and that we actually need to practice in our daily interaction with humans. So I think they are moving forward to correct this kind of parameters in order to ask these robots for information, you have to be more kind now. But this is not applied in all of the system yet, because the problem here was that the children were really talking with rude manners, not in a good way with their peers. And it was because they are using all the time home assistants at their homes. Thank you, Anna. Okay, here is an amazing project that is, we are running it now and working on it. We are doing it together with the national, it's funded by the National Research Council of Norway, and we are doing it with the Business Economics School from Oslo. It's a big project, European project, that it's led by Christian Fiesler, and we are doing the Chilean chapter. And it has a lot of implication on how algorithms shape our lives in some ways. And in this case, we are working, the project is called Future Ways of Working in the Digital Economy. And we are working in what it's called platform economy. Specifically, those delivery platforms. Do you know this platform where you can ask for food to your home and somebody comes in a bicycle? Well, what happens in the life of the workers is actually highly shaped by algorithms, because algorithms tell them where to go in the city, where they can't go. Algorithms are giving them, the application is sending them all the time alarms and sounds on how they should react, if they should move faster, or if they have only a few minutes to deliver the food to their homes. And actually, there are a lot of invisible questions or invisible dynamics and things that we generally don't hear or don't see. So what we are doing is working, well, we did actually focus group, we did a cyber ethnographic study in Facebook group from delivery workers, but also we are collecting WhatsApp audio files where workers, specifically women and non-binary workers, are telling us their stories, their vulnerabilities, things that happens during their work. And it's a way of understanding these dynamics that never, in general, they never show in media or, yes, in mainstream media. So what we try to do is understanding how algorithms shape their life of the workers, but on the other hand, giving the workers a voice to talk about things that are generally invisible to us. And then it has like a specific artistic part, because we are using an algorithm to convert the audio files into music. And through music, you can feel the mood and the feelings of the workers. So it's a very interesting project that we are actually presenting this Thursday in a cultural festival from the government of Colombia, but we expect to have the final results from December to March. So, thank you, Ana.
Lionel and Professor Castillo, we have some questions on the chat. Do you have some minutes now to answer, or?
Yes, let's go to the questions.
Yes, because I know you have to leave at 10 because you have some interviews.
Yes.
So no first, Diane asks, AA is widely used in education in China recently, especially in K-12 after-school training. Subjects range from English learning to art and piano. AI helps to reduce costs and more families could afford. Is the circumstances the same in Chile?
I would say yes. I would say no. We don't have widely used AI for education. We have some experiences, but they are not they're not very common, and they actually they are not affordable for all families. So it would be a main difference, because every innovation or technological innovation requires yes, requires the implementation and technological resources that not every family have. So I would say no to as an answer.
Yes, maybe to adapt what Anna just said, in Chile, there are some initiatives that are very important in terms of, for instance, language, using artificial intelligence tutors for learning English, for instance, and even other subjects in basic and 2K schools. But as Anna mentioned, families in general, they don't have a lot of resources, but also schools, no? Or there is not yet government politics to implement wide across the country artificial intelligence systems in education like it is nowadays. And we know, and I could visit some schools in Beijing when I went there, and it's quite impressive in Chile. So there is, for instance, one initiative that is called Brainy, that use IBM algorithms to create personalized pathways for education in Chile. And it's now, I think, implemented in 20 schools in Santiago, but I'm not talking about the whole country itself. So I think we are a long way, but this is starting. For me, and regarding the question that you can see on the screen, why social sciences and humanities are important for AI, if we think of implementing AI system in education in Chile or in any country, we have to think always that on the importance of humans, the importance of professors, of teachers. There has to be always a human behind these algorithms, because we delegate a lot of decisional powers to algorithms, but it's always good to have humans behind them to audit if they are ethically predicting, working, suggesting, generating outputs to children and to society in general. So as Anna rightly said, the question is not the same in Chile at all, but we are in the way. And we have some time to think critically about it before implementing it. So it's a good thing.
Yes.
Thank you for the question.
Thank you. Let's go
in 30 seconds. I would try to address the issue on privacy. I was actually preparing a presentation for tomorrow's workshop at the Bergman Klein Center for Internet and Society, and we have some things to say about privacy. We can say, for example, that young people are very worried about their privacy, and they are aware of the risks that artificial intelligence can bring to them, and they find this connection between the information they have or the information they'd like to acquire on privacy from the information that adults and schools and parents can provide. So that would be a main thought about privacy here in Chile.
It is interesting because children in general, they said that they, at least here in Chile, they don't want parents to be really close to them when they interact with digital technologies or AI systems, but actually the ones who children identify as responsible if anything goes wrong are parents. So there is a big need of parents' literacy as well, and that involves big efforts from not only governments, but NGO, universities, and all multiple stakeholders that are interested in this field.
Thank you. Do you have minutes for the last questions?
With the questions.
There are a few more.
Yes. So thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this webinar. Ana Maria and I are really available if you want to contact us. You can access our emails through the university web. And we, of course, we are really happy to collaborate with any question or initiative you may think you could have. Thank you so much. And thank you for having us, Eduardo Vera, and the team from International Relations at the University of Chile.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Castillo and Professor Brossi, and I hope the students enjoyed this presentation. Remember that tomorrow we have the second webinar of the week, Latin American Politics, so be sure to register and enjoy our presentation tomorrow and on Wednesday as well. So I know Professor Garcia and Professor Brossi have to leave, so thank you so much again, and we finalize our webinar for today. Thank you everyone who was present.
Thank you, Ana and Lionel. It's been an excellent lecture. Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye
Eduardo,
bye.
for the invitation.
Bye-bye. Take care.